Okay, welcome back to the Adventure Within channel. My name is Andrew Fritz. I'm a clairvoyant healer and meditation teacher. In addition to being a YouTube channel, we're also an online school of intuitive arts. We offer psychic readings, energy healing, meditation classes, and various psychic trainings. Today we have a special guest with us. As the driving force behind the Limitless Life Institute, Susan Shatzer is a standout figure in personal and professional transformation. Unlike any other, her approach results from over 2 decades of experience in energy work and personal development. Susan's innovative methods have led thousands to profound personal and professional transformations, making her a true visionary in her field. Susan's mission is unwavering. She is committed to shaping a world where individuals can break free from the chains of their past traumas and limitations, opening the door to a life of limitless possibilities. Her energetic gift was warmly received at the Academy Awards this year. That's pretty awesome. And she eagerly anticipates the launch of her 15th book, Your Limitless Life, which will undoubtedly inspire and transform countless lives. Through the Limitless Life Institute, Susan offers hope to those who are habitually hurting by providing tools and teachings that integrate ancient wisdom with cutting-edge practices. Her work is a testament to the belief that everyone possesses an innate ability to transcend their perceived limits and step into a life marked by freedom, joy, and true fulfillment. Susan's approach is deeply rooted in the understanding that transformation occurs on all levels. By addressing the energetic patterns that underlie personal challenges, she helps her clients heal and thrive, catalyzing a kind of ripple effect that extends beyond the individual to touch the lives of communities and global consciousness. This transformative movement invites you to be part of it. Join Susan at the Limitless Life Institute, where your journey to an unstoppable and limitless existence begins. Okay, welcome to the show, Susan. Glad you're here.
Thank you so much, Andrew. We are going to have a ton of fun today.
Awesome. I love it. Well, I always like to start off interviews with the same question, and it's because it's one that I'm very fascinated with, and which is, just how and when did you get into spirituality?
So it was before I was born. I was sort of having it out with God.
Nice.
Yeah, it was one of those things where like my mom's water broke, Andrew, on August 22nd, and I wasn't born till September 8th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So my whole life, it's been a running joke in the family. Oh, if anyone's going to be late, it's going to be Susan. She was- right. The 70s, 80s humor.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that happened. And and as I grew up, I left Massachusetts. I was brought up with Catholicism, so the things I could see the unseen, hear the unheard, and I knew the unknown. And it was one of the things that like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't tell anybody that.
Right.
So shut that down, moved out, came to Florida. I got hired as a Walt Disney World dancer. So just uprooted, came here and have been in Florida ever since. And while I was here, more of my angelic team showed up, and I had this one guardian angel, and she was just the sweetest thing. And we used to be like, girlfriends in other lifetimes. And she tapped me on the shoulder and she said, "Do the math on that." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, August 22nd, September 8th. Andrew, that's 18 days.
Hmm.
18. So I started asking with the medical community, I'm like, yeah, like, is that possible? And they were like, yeah, you shouldn't be here, and probably neither should your mother. I
Right.
was, okay, so that's miracle number one. So then I asked, well, what was I doing for 18 days? Like inverted, like just hanging out? Like what was going on? And this lucid dream screen drops down, and I'm in heaven with God. And I'm like, look, I know the rules up here. And
Hmm.
I got really close. I know the rules up here, and I get to choose. And you know what? I'm tapping out. I am not going to go do this lifetime. There's got to be infinite amount of other souls that are more qualified and would love to do this, but this one's filled with disease, heartache, betrayal, illness, like cheating. I'm out.
Hmm.
He is so kind, and he said, "Susan, it has to be you." I'm like a little kid. Why? Why does it have to be me? How come me? And
Hmm.
he said, "Look here." And he opens his arms, and it was like as if he had taken like silver glitter and threw it up in the air, and it was twinkling down. I'm like, "Oh, what's that?" He goes, "Those are the souls waiting for you to get to Earth to help
Oh,
them on their soul's evolution, which is why they incarnated." And I was like,
Oh,
Okay, I'll go. And I took first breath. But can you imagine 18 days, like how long that was? I must have held out a really long time in heaven.
yeah, I'd say
There was 18 days on earth.
that's
So
amazing.
that's like I already had my, my soul's goal. Like that's what it is to be in service to humanity. So I've been doing that ever since, really.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's really profound. To just you go from that like I don't think I'm gonna commit to this. I'll take a step out here if you don't mind, and then kind of like you see your mission, your purpose, and you go whoa, and all the people you can impact. That's pretty amazing.
I even said, I go, look, I'll go in 100 years, God. I got you. You want me to do it? I'll do it. I'll do it. Just in 100 years, Earth will be a nicer place. Humans will be nicer people.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. When we're a little more evolved, I'll go then.
right. But here I
Yeah,
am trying to wheel and deal with God.
that's funny. That's awesome. Well, I've seen that you're referred as to a kind of a master pattern interrupter, which I love that, by the way. And with that said, what are some common limitations that either you personally have come across or you've worked with a lot of people and you see kind of show up for them, just the common limitations we kind of hit?
Absolutely. This is a great question. So you show me your lifeline this way. So I've got yours here, Andrew.
Mm,
And I can see all the way back to like the very first thing you chose to be or do when you like separated from source and you're like, I'm going to go have that adventure.
mm,
Then all the lifetimes up to present and even what's projected into your future for future lifetimes.
mm-hmm,
And then your ancestors are shown to me this way.
mm,
So they're showing me what they passed down, and now you got it. So I
right.
can see that. And karma is spitting like tornadoes,
Mm,
like on the sides of all of this. So I have an angelic, an indigenous, and a galactic team, and so do you. So mine sit on the left, and I've got yours on the right.
mm,
And so together, all of us go into your subconscious because your subconscious creates your reality.
mm-hmm,
And we pull out the unconsciousness that's in there.
mm,
And it's like taking your cup, which is your body, your field, your life, and we
mm-hmm,
dump it out. We get rid of the stuff that no longer serves you. And when you have an empty cup, then you can invite in that which you'd like to have into your life. So people change radically, dramatically, instantly, and permanently. Like it is a done deal, like it's gone.
mm.
Uh, and one of the most popular things that people are so held on to, even in the face of total awareness, is the word want. WANT. I call it my 4 letter word.
Mm, yeah.
Not the curse words, but this is my four
Yeah.
letter word that just locks them up because we were taught and the definition was actually changed on us. So, like for instance, what does the word want like mean to you when you use it?
I'm desiring something.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, right. Yeah, so you'd like to have it.
sure.
The only thing is that actually means you lack it.
Right.
So you don't have it, and it's always in your future because you can't have it now.
Mm,
So anytime you're wanting for anything, you can't actually have it because it's in your future. It's like always there. So the word want is something that locks people up. And we've been entrained with it. Like, what do you want for dinner? What do you want to be when you grow up? What sports do you want to play next year? What do you want for your birthday? What do you want for Christmas? What do you want to wear tomorrow? I mean, really want is humongous. However, everything's energy, including our language.
mm,
Our language just happens to be a limitation because language wasn't actually the first one you learned at home. That
mm,
was not your first language. So your first language was energy.
mm,
And then you got entrained through the colors because this frequency is black,
mm-hmm,
frequency is red, this frequency is purple.
mm,
Yeah. Repetition created the neural pathways.
mm-hmm,
So limitation, limitation, limitation. And that's why scientists prove that we are 99.9% space. We can't walk through walls because up
mm,
here, we've already decided we can't do that. And we're solid.
right.
So want is a huge thing. And even in the face of total awareness, still clients will use it and then they won't have a memory of it. Like I'll say, "Oh, you really want that?" And they'll go, "No, I don't want it." I go, "But you just asked for wanting it." And you're
Yeah.
like, "I didn't." "Yes, I did." We've had to stop the recording at render, Andrew, and then take it back and then
Right.
play it. And they're like, "Wow, you're right. I did." I'm not here to make you wrong. Like I'm just pointing out, you know,
Right.
where the ripples are happening. So yeah.
So is that wanting, is that kind of like metaphorically like running on the treadmill with the carrot stick out in front of you and just it's like just out of reach. It's like you never quite get there kind of thing. Is that
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's where you give your power away.
right.
It's like not something that they can do or have now.
Right. And are there certain areas of people's lives? Do you see it show up in all different areas? Or does it seem more common with like money or health or having love or what? Like, is there certain areas you see more commonly pop up for people with the limits?
Um, no, want pretty much shows up in all areas.
Got it. Yeah.
But the thing is, like when it's part of poverty consciousness.
Mm,
And what happens is when we are in a space of say wealth consciousness,
hmm
we don't use the words want. You know, in wealth consciousness, it's like I'm gonna have that.
mm,
I'm getting that.
got it.
And so because you're just gonna have it. And so to replace the word want in your vocabulary, it's I am and I have.
hmm
And that keeps you in the present. And that's how where you manifest.
Got it. Yeah, it's a total mindset shift then. It's like you said with the subconscious where it's you really got to empty out those yeah, the limiting beliefs, right. Okay. Um, and then could you discuss, because that's a journey for some people. Sometimes it's quicker for others, sometimes it's, lengthier for others, I imagine, where can you describe some of the journey from the limited, that dichotomy of the limited to the limitless, where someone's make crossing that rope bridge and that kind of weird, scary, awkward in between. Can you describe what that is like for people, yourself, or that's that unknown space?
Yeah, like bring it. So we're in polarity and duality, and that is complete lockdown limitation.
Mm,
So what happens is you're taught to figure it out, find the right answer, make a good
mm,
choice. When that's not actually how the third dimension reality should be running.
mm,
That's all limitation. It should be running with question because question always empowers you. But
mm,
you're taught to go to conclusion, make a decision, a calculation, a computation, a choice, a judgment, a separation, whatever it happens to be.
mm,
So what happens is, and I love this. So, you know, the 2 year olds.
mhm.
So what question do they ask all the time that
Mm.
really irritate the adults?
Is it the why or the
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. Why? And I'll tell you why they say why. Because 2 year olds do not have all those narrow pathway of limitations already in place.
Mm,
They're still outside the matrix, like 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
mm,
And they know, they can see, hear, they realize that there's a different possibility available to those adults in their life
mm.
that they're not choosing it that would create greater.
Ah,
So why can't I wear my princess dress to school? They know that the frequency of the princess dress, because everything's energy, is going to create greater for them in school. Why
mm,
can't I wear my Spider-Man costume to church? Because
mm.
they know that the frequency of the Spider-Man costume with them in it, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like the children are so much or more in touch with the non-effort. It's a bring almost childhood memories to me. Like as you talk about this, I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, I remember this.
And like the parents, what do we do? Because I said so.
Mm,
Because I told you, because I'm the adult, because I'm your mother, your father. You know, you're
mm,
not actually acknowledging what they know. I
mm.
mean, they know there's a different possibility available.
Right.
We just aren't willing to choose it because we're in the you can't wear that there, you can't say that here, you can't do that there. Like it's society's form, structure, significance. And that's what creates the real, right, and relevant reality that we're all in. And nowhere in there is a question. Like,
Mm.
what what grand and glorious adventure can I have today in my Spider-Man costume?
Hmm.
Like, doesn't that feel so much more expansive than no, you can't wear it to church because nobody else is wearing costumes because I said so and go get your church clothes on.
Right. Yeah.
You just shut the kids down. And all of us have had to do that. We've all had to fold, cut, staple, and paste ourselves in a box of this reality.
Mm. Yeah. It just yeah, it brings so much up. It's and as you talk about this, it's sometimes seems like the difference between, like you said, kind of like that non-effort and effort, and almost being very like rational and analytical versus kind of just being like freely intuitive. Does that seem to resonate or seem right or?
Yes, absolutely. It's where we've been taught you should do this, you could do that, you shoulda, coulda, woulda, you
Mm,
must, like roles and responsibilities.
mm,
And we do a lot in our life, whether it's our job, our relationship, parenting style, it could be anything, but we do it from roles and responsibilities. Like that's my job, that's my responsibility, that's my role to
mm,
be this dad, this mom, this person, this other thing. But would you like to know a top secret,
mm.
Andrew?
Absolutely.
All right. So this is brand new, and I've not said this on any other platform. Only my peeps know.
Ah, nice. Okay.
So I do a lot of research and I
Mm.
go into a lot of different frequencies and I look at like the collective consciousness and I'm shown our record and,
Ah.
all of that. So I was in there recently and I was asking about a limitation.
Mm,
And what I was given and shown is identity misnomers.
mm,
So we all have identity misnomers, and it's lifetime after lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. And so it has been the single most like diabolical kind of a thing, an entrapment, because
mm,
we all shown up with, okay, so I'm Susan,
mm.
but that's not really what I am.
Right.
I am source. So we have been functioning ever since that first step away from the God source. When you
Mm,
chose to have an experience, your experience was as something, doing something,
mm.
being someplace. And all of those are misnomers because we've identified them as ourselves since.
Do you feel like that's, yeah. Do you feel like
Holy
that?
grail. That's holy. Like that unlocks like everything. It goes brrr,
Yeah.
like the domino.
Do you feel like that's being shaken up now for a lot of people in the world where it's like that's being challenged? Like, oh, like who you think you are is not really who you are, and that's going to start to pop up. Do you sense that? Or
Well, I sense it. I'm going to put air quotes around it. Like that's the new thing, right?
Mm,
That's the shiny object topic.
right, right.
But yeah, and all of it's leading to, really stepping into your full power and potency. Like
Mm,
we actually haven't done that. We've had to give away our power so often since we were two,
hmm.
moving forward in how many lifetimes?
Mm.
Yeah.
Now, when you've touched on kind of how you work and how you see things, and that's pretty fascinating to me. Um, so when you're helping people go from the limited to the limitless through that dichotomy and that rope bridge and all that, the unknown, sounds like you're using energy work or energy healing to assist people in that process. Can you describe what is energy healing or energy work and more about those things you see the timelines and all that?
Yeah. So everything's energy.
Mm,
That includes our thoughts, our feelings, and our emotions. They're also energy, including the food we eat, the clothes we wear, and the technology we're using.
mm,
So, interestingly, is that we were taught that the soul or the spirit is in the body.
mm,
So, that's not actually true. So, the soul is infinite. And
mm,
right now, you have a body. So, your infinite soul, your body is in your soul, your
mm,
body in the spirit. So, it's reversed.
Mm,
from what you were taught and told. So that's sort of called like a lie or a mistruth, or some people call it bastardized. It's where they
mm,
take a definition or word of something and they make it something else other than what it is.
mm, mhm,
So that would be an example. And then what happens is with energy work, there's you aren't the body, you're the soul. So the
mm,
body's the one that wears the clothes. The
mm,
body eats the food, the body drinks the drinks, the body's the one that does the movement, and the body's the one that has the sexual relations, not
mhm.
you.
Right,
You're the soul.
right.
But you were taught to like something, don't like something, something's good, something's
Mm,
bad, something's right, something's wrong. So what you do is we've been taught to impose our beliefs on the body.
mm,
Our bodies are more conscious than we are because we have points of view about things and our bodies don't.
mm,
So when I work with clients, getting to the limitless from limited
mm,
is where we are like mixing all of the misunderstood programming that you've had, that you've bought into, that you installed, and that you have running in the background.
mm,
So everybody kind of shows me a computer screen and you have a trillion of these tabs open, but you're on the front screen trying to create your life,
mm.
except you're all seeing this Microsoft rainbow ball swirling.
Yeah. Yeah. Why is it getting bogged down and going slow? No.
Yes,
Uh,
exactly, Andrew. That's exactly what it's like. And it's like you have to shut the computer down, you have to restart it, you have to close out some tabs because you're out of bandwidth. Well, that's where we are right now. We are out of bandwidth. You know how we're more conscious than our parents,
mm-hmm.
and our parents were more conscious than their parents, and our kids are more conscious than they are? Well, guess what? That's what's happening. We
Mm,
have to recapture our bandwidth. And it's so overdue for us to eliminate all of that programming systems, that stuff that's running in the background. Because if you could have figured out how to have a totally abundant, incredibly, amazingly joyful life, like, don't you think you would have by now?
yeah.
It's not about figuring anything out, it's about the energy of things.
Right. Ah. I imagine that's a lot of becoming aware of that and surrender or letting that go. Is that accurate, or do you find that any challenges with that with clients where they're struggling to let go or reach finally have that euphoric moment of like, finally I've I've exhausted all these possibilities and I'm just gonna just surrender and something changes.
Yeah. So surrender is interesting to me.
Mm,
It's sort of like I go with education.
mm,
So it's like when people are educated, then they get it. You know what
mm.
I mean? And then they
Ah,
can share it with somebody else. Like until I talked about the 2-year-olds, that wasn't in your awareness.
mm-hmm,
Until I talked about how you're the soul and you're not the body, right? Like
mm-hmm,
we didn't have the awareness of that. So what I teach people to do is to get with the body and ask the body, because
mm,
you've been disconnected from it so long, and it is like a muscle.
mm,
You know how some people are clairvoyant, clairaudio, clairsentient,
mm-hmm,
and more often you use it, the greater it is, the easier it is. It's just like a muscle. So is the same thing with you connecting with your body.
mm.
Your body would love to have you know what's in its best interest and ask it. Like, it'll tell you who to not sleep with. It'll tell you what to eat or not eat.
Mm,
And so I teach people that because there's the misconception that you get energy from food, about this much. More of it is to function, the carbohydrates and the sugar to
mm,
to run the brain. But the body has the awareness of the minute vitamins, minerals, and elements that it requires. So like when I go to the refrigerator or the grocery store and my body's like picking, it'll pick like eggs, cranberry sauce, feta cheese. I'm like, really? Like, you're like, that's what we're going to eat today. I'm like, okay.
mm.
Because I've known long enough that round peg, square hole does not give you the results you're looking for.
Right, right.
And the body just knows. And I'll tell you, when I have eaten those like bizarre kind of combinations, like it tastes really good. Like, who would have thought?
Got it. So it's a trusting or just being able to listen and trust that. I think that's sounds like the important or the key I'm taking away from that.
Yeah, so I was asked to create and gift to the Oscars last year, the Academy Awards,
Hmm.
an energetic gift. So I have this pendulum that I made, an amethyst pendulum with a QR code that showed them how to use it.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I start with clients is I start having them use a pendulum until they can get the yes and the no outside of
Oh, I see.
the pendulum. And then because your body would like to communicate with you instantly.
Hmm.
And then your body's going to show you exactly how it's going to give you the yes and it's going to give you the no. Like it'll give you physical sensations.
Hmm.
And then you get to the next level, the next point where you are the walking, talking question and you just get the information.
Hmm.
So that, and it happens pretty regularly for me. And then it's the most, you can't, it's like the odds of that happening, you just can't even like begin to, some of the stuff that shows up is like, there's no way. Like, yeah,
Very cool.
pretty crazy moments like that.
Yeah. Um, so kind of going back to the limitless side of things, you talk about this timeline, and that's fascinating because some people they have an awareness of spirit and past lives. Do you ever come across just in life or working with clients where you get to kind of gaze into like what's going on in between their lives or even before they even had any kind of incarnation where it's just, hey, I've made this split from source, so to speak, and just floating around here. Have you ever seen that at all or noticed that?
Yeah, we go all the way back to the very beginning. And it all depends on, so when someone comes, they have a request.
Mm,
So it's like, so how can I best serve you? It's what I do in my initial consultations, and they're no cost. So let's just come
mm,
and talk. Tell me what's not working for you. What's the biggest problem? What
mm,
are you struggling with? And then I can go in and I can see like what that is, where it was, what happened, when it started. Was it an oath? Was it a blood oath, a contract, a swearing, a
mm,
promise, an agreement, something with some other being? Like there's so many different factors
mm.
involved. Like another top tip, if you don't mind me sharing it, because I think this will
Sure.
be super helpful, is when we use the words always and nevers.
Mm,
So those words, always and never, are forever words.
mm,
So they transcend time. So when something happens to you, and you may have even used it in this lifetime where you've said, I'll always remember what happened.
mm,
I'll always be there for you. I'll always remember the way you treated me. And or you've also used, I'll never forget. I'll
mm,
never forget what happened. I'll never forget what you did to me. I'll never forget how you made me feel, whatever it happens to be.
mm,
You come back in the next lifetime. In order for you to always remember, you need to reinstall the frequency of what happened.
mm,
And in order for you to never forget, you've got to reinstall the frequency. So the frequency's in your energy field.
mm.
However, because we go through the birth canal, we're like, okay, amnesia. We don't.
Yeah.
It's the when you're like your roller coaster amnesia.
Yeah.
Here you are, baby breath. So what happens is like you don't have access to that. And you don't even realize that that's what's in your field. But
Mm,
because it's in your field, like attracts like here on planet Earth. So when you're on a low frequency, and so I say high and low only because it's easier that way, but it should be going left to right. And I can
mm,
explain that too. So there's an emotional chart,
mm,
and it has death at the bottom and enlightenment, God's consciousness at
mm,
the top. So just above death, believe it or not, are eight, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There you
mm,
go. Eight frequencies: blame, shame, regret, and guilt,
mm,
anger, rage, fury, and hate.
mm.
Anytime you are functioning from that, feeling that, having that, you are just above death. That's how low you are.
Okay. No.
Yeah. And see, we're not taught this.
Mm,
Like we are not taught how to do this. We're
right.
not how to handle our emotions, how to move through them, how to move past them, how to process them, how to discover the truth behind it. Because let me tell you something, like the things that we get and have anger, rage, fear, hate, blame, shame, regret, they're not actually true.
Hmm.
Like it's your point of view that you have, but you haven't actually asked for the truth. So
Hmm.
that's huge, huge for people to be
Hmm.
able to have the awareness that something else was possible. And then just below God's consciousness is gratefulness.
Hmm.
And then everything else is in between. So anytime you're not in gratefulness, and that's different from gratitude.
Hmm.
So in this reality, you've been taught to have a gratitude journal and use your
Hmm.
manners and say please and thank you. And that's gratitude. And that's important because you want to be a good person, a good son, a good daughter, a good mother. Yeah, a good role model.
Hmm.
Except gratitude comes with obligation and responsibility.
Hmm.
You actually have to do something to be in gratitude.
Hmm.
And so we're not human beings. That's the trap. We're human. I mean, we're not human doings. That's the
Hmm.
trap. We're human beings. And so
Right.
gratefulness, when you're grateful, it's just a state of being.
Hmm.
You're being grateful. There's no obligation, there's no responsibility, there's no expectation. That is the highest frequency that we can be.
Hmm.
Anything below that is a limitation.
Gosh, yeah. That's yeah, it's interesting. Just like your like households that, we're born into, some like the permission level of like, oh, we can only be in these certain emotional energies, and like anything beyond that, whoa, I don't know about that. That's gonna stir the pot around here. So when you're talking about this range of energy, I was like, yeah, I'm sure every household has different permission levels. So like, hey, we can be here, and that's good. Anything higher, no. Or some of the people have more havingness for that. But yeah, it's interesting that like you put death as, and then there's really the things we're used to are kind of not far off from it, which is crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it, and the chart sits this way. However, it should be this way. The
Mm,
chart should be this way. And the reason it should be this way is because high and low is polarity.
mm.
When you place it this way, it's like a dial on the old car radios.
Oh
Do you
yeah.
remember,
Yeah,
Andrew? You would
yeah.
have the dial and
Uh-huh.
you would, and the needle, the dial would roll across. And
Hmm.
if you go a little to the left or a little too far to the right, you get static or you get two stations playing at the same time.
Yep.
That's the truth
Mm,
about frequency. It's not high and low. It's like you're just dialing in your frequency to a specific, emotion dials you in.
mm,
And then you can be a little to the left or a little to the right or spot on. And
mm,
so it's not good or bad. It's just this is the frequency where you most of the time function from. And what happens is the frequencies that are closer to death, you actually are attracting in those low vibrational people, places, things, and ideas and experience.
mm,
Versus when you're in gratefulness, like one of the highest frequencies, that's what you're attracting in. People, places, things, experiences, events, occurrences, money flows and partnerships. And yeah. And that's a way more fun place to be.
yeah, I'd say. So it sounds like like changing the channel or switching to a different frequency, you start to shift your reality. Is that kind of what you're?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
That's what it all is. We're all, and that's what Tesla said, vibration, frequency, that's the truth of this reality.
Mm,
I woke up one morning, Andrew, and I went to go hit my alarm, right? And I looked at my hand and I could not see my hand. I could not see nails, wrinkles, knuckles, skin. No, I just saw an outline of my hand and there was all these dots in the middle. And I was like, like, oh, where's my hand? Everything moved it back and forth. I could see the carpet.
mm,
That's when I was told that's reality. You're in the illusion.
mm,
We've created this illusion based on color, form, structure, significance.
mm.
So this is the illusion we're in.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Do
that
you?
was like this.
Yeah, yeah. Do you? I mean, obviously, like people in our lives where we hear about, oh, okay, there's the freedom to change the channel or raise your vibration or go to a different channel that's, further away from death, hopefully. Um, and have a better fulfilling life. Do you ever get any information about like, oh, for a soul to go, okay, maybe I'm done here. Like I've done what I needed to do, kind of playing this game of past lives on this interesting, chaotic planet. Do you ever get that, come across that where it's like, hey, this is when a soul's ready to just say bon voyage, like I'm good.
Au revoir.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so like I don't have a point of view on a lot of things. And so that allows everything to come in. People can show up differently when they're not in judgment.
Mm,
Um, so what I've discovered is that souls come down to have an experience for their soul's evolution.
mm,
So some souls only need 4 months in utero.
mm,
That's all their soul required.
mm,
But we have this whole thing in our life about, oh, that was terrible. That was awful. You know what I mean? Like we're taught to have that kind of situation show up. And so some souls only need like 4 or 5 years.
mm,
Some need more. And so what I've been finding more of is that there's so many souls looking to have a human experience that they will partner up with like the original soul of the body. And they'll
mm.
go, look, I'm done. Look, you want in, you want the next few. Okay, you're next. And then,
Oh,
okay, because you don't always need like 100 years
mm,
time to have an experience. You may only require a certain amount. So sometimes there's more than one or two souls that kind of like are hanging out because when one's done and the next one comes in, it's like, oh, well, maybe I'll hang out for a little while. Like, yeah, I just got here, like kind of show me the ropes. So
mm,
this camaraderie with each other. And so when they come to me, people show up in my reality because I have an awareness and they have a need, a question, or something that
mm.
they're looking for. So that's how most people land in my reality.
Oh, interesting.
That's
Okay.
why I'm here to be of service, and I can go in and just see all of this that's happening, and
Yeah.
just your angelic team, like they're the ones that make the plan. Like this is what we're going to do first, and so it's clearing levels of things in a sense, even though there's no such thing as levels. But it's like we're going to clear this first
Mm,
because the cream rises to the top, and we take that off, and then the next layer of cream rises to the top. Then we'll take that off.
mm.
But when I work with clients, it's like 3 to 4 months because the body can only receive so much change at one time.
Ah, yeah.
Because we're working in the energetic area, right? We're in the subconscious, pulling out the unconsciousness, kind
Mm,
of work in that with timeline jumpings and all that kind of fun stuff.
yeah.
Um, the body actually, as we remove energy, we're dumping it out, we're getting rid of it. The molecules in the physical require a chance to go click, 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 like back into place.
Ah,
So they need a chance to do that.
got
So
it.
that's why they can only have so much change at one time. And then they need a chance to like get back, kind of like a reset.
So it sounds like there's like a growth period or a period of just the body adjusting to everything that's that happens, it sounds like.
Yeah, like it's so interesting because I remove beliefs, points of view, judgments, and things like right out of people's realities. And
Mm.
have like a mom or a dad in the morning wake up and like text me and say, what did you do with my kids? Because these are not them.
Yeah.
When you change, everything else around you gets to change and show up differently.
Mm.
It's pretty magical.
Yeah. And so I'd like to talk like this is what you do and what you offer. Can you discuss a little bit about the Limitless Life Institute? People that are interested in maybe working with you and what that's about.
I would love to. So the Limitless Life Institute just came into being
Mm.
at the beginning of last year. And in the work that I do when I go into the energy fields and I find like the identity misnomer that had us all locked up since we stepped out of the God source,
Mm.
so did the Limitless Life Institute when I was looking at the frequencies of what things were. This done differently frequency showed up. And I was like,
Mm.
ooh, what are you?
Ah.
called Where Did You Come From? And I'm in the collective humanities consciousness
Mm,
in that field. And so it said done differently. And I was like, okay, so what does that mean? What does that look like? What does that sound like? What could that create? So I'm always in the question in asking for greater, more, infinite possibilities. And so it showed me that there are humans
mm,
that are so stuck with religion or
mm,
culture or heritage or systems, but like, and they were telling me, this is the way we've done it. This is the way we've always done it. Maybe you've heard yourself say this.
mhm,
This is the way our parents did it, and the parents before them did it, and
mhm.
it's not broken. We're not going to fix it philosophy. Like, how many of us have that whole wheel running?
Oh yeah.
How many of us have had parents and grandparents say that?
Hmm.
Well, so we're going to come in with doing things differently. So
Mm,
it's going to be talking, walking, like all the regular, but it's going to be done differently. And
nice.
so there's men and women from all around the world that have been getting with me saying, hey, I do this differently. Great. So the Limitless Life Institute is a holistic education
Mm,
system where we're going to be teaching the things you were never taught.
mm,
It's going to have the truth with them. And it's going to supplement regular ed. So nobody needs to give up their beliefs. Nobody needs to
mm,
change anything about them. It's like, hey, this is a possibility of like doing, mourning differently. This
mhm,
is a possibility on how to do divorce differently. This is a possibility on how to do like parenting, conscious parenting differently. So
mm.
we have so many people who like have a specialty that they've been doing. It's like their superpower.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they get with there like, yeah, I definitely would like to be in on this. So this has been brewing, for over a year now.
Mm.
Some of the most amazing people, like I had I was on a cruise recently,
Ah,
speaking on a cruise, and this gentleman came up to me and said, yeah, I heard about your limitless life and the done differently. And I was like, yeah, I'm like, so what you got? And he said, well, I telepathically guided my three daughters before they went to school and before they learned how to speak. And I was like, you what now? Excuse me?
yeah.
And, I know it's possible. And
Hmm.
so he said, oh, yeah. And I'm like, well, is that something you can teach? He goes, I've been teaching it for 10 years. And I'm like, you're on. So we have telepathy with toddlers as one of the programs.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
It's huge. This is going to be so much fun. So I'm in this like, look, I'm an energy person. Like, I do not know anything about running a school or putting a school together or like, anything like that. Like, I'm just going to create this for humanity and let humanity run with it. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm kind of like, someone's got to, like we need someone who's got the power,
Hmm.
the authority to like make things happen. So I'm on the cruise and I'm hanging out in the stateroom. I guess that's what they call it, the stateroom.
Mm.
While I'm hanging out in the stateroom, my body says, go to the conference. And I'm like, oh, how your body's more aware than you are? So I'm like, oh, okay. So let me just see who's speaking. Maybe it'll be something good. So I
Mm,
look and I already know these people. I'm like, I've already heard their work, seen their work. I'm like, this, yeah.
mm,
Like, body's like, go to the conference. I'm like, all right. So I put my shoes on, I grab my badge, I go up to the conference. Now there's two conference room doors, Andrew.
mm.
So I start to head into one conference room door, and I was like, okay, here we go. And the body's like, not this one. I'm like, oh, sorry.
Can't get out that easy.
So I'm backing up into people, right? They're like, oh, excuse me. I go back. So I'm like, it's got to be the next one. So I start to head into the next conference room. And it's like the top of the hour or the
Mm,
bottom of the hour when, the next person is coming in to speak and like everyone's like flooding into the room. And the body was like, not this one. I'm like, oh, okay, not this one. I'm backing up.
uh,
The only two conference doors.
mm,
That's the only convention thing. And I'm like, body, what are we doing?
mm.
The body says to me, leave. I'm like, what? It's like, leave. I'm like, we just got up here. Like, you know what I mean? Like, see how we have points of view about things?
Oh yeah.
Watch this. Our body doesn't. So I said, all right, we'll leave. So as I start to leave, the body's like, sit here. So I sit down in this chair and this woman's at a table
Mm,
and she had been in the conference room and we all had like bender tables in there.
mhm,
But because she needed to speak with people, she would be disturbing the speakers. So they moved her out into the hallway.
mm,
So had me heat my body, had me sit down. I was like, okay. So the woman at the table goes, how can I help you? I'm like, I have no idea. I said, but my body just asked me to sit here. She goes, I saw your body tried to, you tried to get your body to one room. I said, no. And I go, yeah, that would be me. I talk with my body. My body talks to me. And she's like, that's so cool. She goes, my name's Susan. I'm like, my name's Sue. And I'm like, I'm a Susan.
Mm.
So we started talking about, I don't think that's why my body brought me up here to meet a Sue. She goes, I used to be a first grade school teacher. I'm like, I used to be a first grade school teacher.
Oh, wow, that's funny.
We start talking about how, how difficult how archaic our school system is. I mean,
Mm,
they're still in their seats, raising their hands and waiting for the bell to ring. Everything else has evolved, transportation, communication, technology, like everything,
mm,
but we're still in the same place. This has to change. Now is the time. Today is the day. So we were both talking about all that stuff of, how we both had. I mean, tell me if I'm right. Like, did you read The Grapes of Wrath and study Romeo and Juliet, Andrew?
Romeo and Juliet a little bit, but yeah.
Okay. So my son, he studied Grapes of Wrath and Romeo and Juliet.
Mm,
He's 22, I'm 56. I'm like, there has to be other works,
right, right. Yeah.
other things that just the same thing, right?
Mm,
And enough with Anne Frank and the trauma that her diary brings us, right? Like,
mm,
you don't need to like keep installing that in people.
mm,
So she said, wow, that sounds great. So I talked to her about the Limitless Life Institute. And she said, well, how can I help you? And I'm like, I really need the big dog's, phone number. Like now that Donald Trump's in office, he's the one that's making all the changes like this. She goes, I have his phone number. And I was like, excuse me? What did you say? And she said, I have his phone number. And I was like, wow, well, that's pretty amazing. She goes, you know who would really like to read and learn more about this, what you're creating? I said, who? She goes, Bobby. And I'm like, as in Kennedy? She's like, yeah. Bruce Lipton. I mean, she has all of these contacts
mm,
for all these amazing people. And she said, look, they know the education system's broken,
mm,
but they don't have anything to dismantle it to put in its place.
mm,
So they can't really do any changes. Except now you're showing up and you have a completely different possibility.
mm.
And I was like, yeah, like what would that like to look like? So we're still in the process of like getting everything put together and having the people who, would like to be a part of it, like send their information in. But, this is taking off. Like
That
what's next?
that sounds awesome. I mean, it sounds like I guess the education we're all kind of looking for that we could use earlier in life to set us up sooner. So,
And I will tell you something too. So going in at the frequencies, the ascension process that we're on and the 5D earth and that kind of thing that's going to be happening.
mhm,
So I went in and it's not going to come from us, the adults. We're not going to do it.
mm,
We do not have the capacity as adults to make the frequency that's required to make the jump.
mm,
We are going to have to 100th monkey in from our children.
mm,
Our children are not as stuck as we are. We are in the sludge, in the mud, in the cement. Our children are not.
mm.
So the Limitless Life Institute is going to give these kids
Oh,
even
wow.
more that they've never received before right out of the gate. And then we're going to 100th monkey in with them. It's going to be our children that raise the frequency that's required.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I've always yeah, having a some sort of space and structure set up where, people could learn this early on. And I'd be like, wow, what would life look like for people that just start out this way and maintain that level of awareness and ability? I'm like, well, I could do some pretty amazing things.
Yeah, and it's not going to be like your age. This is what you learn at this age. This is
Right.
your grade. This is what you learn at this grade. None of that. It's going to be interest based. There's going to
Mm,
be topics, and at any age, at any place, at any time, that's where you're going to plug in. It's going to be interest based,
mm,
and that's truly how education should be.
mm,
Instead of you be like, I got certified as a first grade school teacher, Andrew,
mm,
and I had to take like 3 sciences and 3 maths in college. So here I am taking like you know, what was it like biology of the
hmm.
body or I'm like, I'm teaching first grade, and calculus, trigonometry, like
Oh gosh.
with maths because it was a college requirement, which they still have.
Mm,
And I love the language requirement that they still have, but we have
yeah.
devices that will take anywhere at any time all around the world that will translate any language for us. But
Right.
still a requirement. Like, see, it's this stuff that just doesn't make sense. That our children, and I know my son is like a lot of kids that this generation, they're unapologetic about what works and what does not work for them. And
Hmm.
they're not afraid to step out of the box and do their own thing the way they'd like to do it on their terms. And
Yeah.
that's what's required. It's that courage and this education.
That's awesome. Yeah, because there's certain things I learned in school. I'm like, all right, that was really essential and helpful, but there's a lot of stuff I probably could have went without and learned something else that would have been a lot better. But
Yeah, I had like cooking and sewing,
mm,
like and wood shop. You
right.
know, like
I remember
those
that.
are
Yeah.
like those aren't actually trades that I was on track to do. That,
Right.
I took it because that's what I was supposed to take
Right. Yeah.
at that in that grade at that level.
Well, I'm excited that you're doing this, the Limitless Life Institute. I think you also have a book that's coming out soon. Can you talk about
Yeah.
that briefly, or?
Yeah, your limitless life. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have earmarked like 7 different strategies. They're very specific that will take you from unfulfilled to unstoppable. And it
Mm,
has to do with these programmings that are most seen in people that take up the most bandwidth of space, that when they get change,
mm,
you'll start feeling the momentum in
mm.
your life.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Awesome. Is there anything you feel that we maybe missed or we didn't cover you think that would be important, or it's okay if there's not? I always like to give an opportunity at the end.
Um, Let me see, like what's coming up.
Mm,
Okay, so yeah, source would like you to know that you've never done anything wrong.
mm,
So one of the things that you were told that was a wrong decision, a wrong choice, you did the wrong thing, you made a bad
mm,
whatever. You treated your friend badly or your brother, your sister, but you've actually never done anything wrong. And when I discovered this, it was when I was in some clients' realities and we were looking at the different people that were in there. And then
mm,
Source came down and I had their teams. And Andrew, I was shown how before we get here, we decide what experiences we would like to have.
mm,
So, like in some lifetimes, like I've killed somebody, in other
mm,
lifetimes, I've been killed.
mhm,
You know, the soul is here to have every experience. So we pick what we'd like to have at whatever times. Well, at the same time we're picking, there's people who agree to give us that experience for our soul's evolution.
mm,
And we also agree to give other people their experiences for their soul's evolution.
mm,
So it's like a play, we're all playing our parts. And you were told and taught that things happened to you. That's not true.
mm,
You are the creator of your reality. You create everything that you have, everything that shows up. And because things happened to you, then therapy was created. So, what happened? What happened next? What happened after that? How did you feel when he said that after that happened? And that just cements it. And we hold on to it at a cellular level in our kidneys, and our livers, and our bodies, and all of our organs. Yeah. So you've actually never done anything wrong. So I'd like to invite you right now to just call the show over. It's done.
mm,
Let the curtain drop, step forward, take a bow.
mm,
Let the standing ovation come up. Allow the little girls to run over with the big bouquets of flowers. Take those bouquets of flowers and exit stage left.
mm,
When you exit the play, the show is over. Everyone no longer needs to play that role. Now they get to choose what works for them versus being stuck in the play, being stuck in that role.
mm,
Now you're out the back door. Now you get to choose if you're going to go left, right, straight, and you get to invite in who you'd like to have in your next play,
mm.
next show. And that's where creation comes from. And you do it in the present moment. So that's getting out of the loop and into creation.
Ah, that's awesome. That's that's very liberating and freeing. That's yeah. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was one of the things that, just people who've had so much guilt, regret, shame and blame that they've been carrying for like lifetimes.
Hmm.
The thing, we're able to just like drop it like it was hot. Just
Yeah.
like dropped it. They're like, yep, done. Because when the education, when they're explained, like this is what's happening, this is why it's happening, this is how this works. No one taught us how this reality works.
Hmm.
No one gave us this back end information. And without it, you're just the hamster on the wheel running.
Right.
You don't have another possibility. So we do part education and part energy work. And so that's where
Mm.
the empowerment comes in.
I like
Yeah.
that. That's a good combination. Yeah. For those that want to get in touch with you and work with you, or discover more about some of the books you have and the one that's coming out soon, how do they connect with you?
So I have made it so easy. It's my first and last name, susanshatzer.com. And on
Nice.
the website, there's a booking link right there. And you just click the link and you pop on, pick the best time, no cost. Let's get together. Let me help you kind of shift, change, and choose a different possibility. Like I'll have your teams there. We'll go in and we'll get to the bottom. We'll figure this out together.
Very cool. That sounds really awesome. Susan, yeah, I'll make sure I link that in the description below, make it easier for everybody to get to there. I just want to thank you for just your time and sharing your experiences and your wisdom here.
You're so welcome. And I look forward to seeing your name on my calendar.
All right. Sounds like a plan. Everyone, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.